So by doing the Saturn graph and the your graph, you got the main focus of what's going on in a person's life. And you know you're advising for personal growth. Saturn below the horizon. And everything she's doing, so even though Saturn's opposing her sun, there's still something else to learn. There's still something else to add. It's going to take some time. And so there's still work to be adding things. It's not the easiest time to build things up. But there's a tendency here, Saturn opposes sun, let's do it as a partnership. Let's set up things. But she's not ready. She would attract a difficulty in a partnership with the Saturn opposing the sun at this point. So she has to do this on her own and hang in and do it. And then, but the tendency for relationships to start coming in 2022, it's there. There's still going to be some complicated issue around it. Everybody's got baggage. Might be kids, in-laws, what I don't know. Cross language. I'm not sure. You have to get closer to that before you'd know what that is. The Neptune was very active before, so it's still. It could be being here and wanting to leave, or moving and then trying to get started. It could be a whole new direction. But wherever she goes, if you're going to go, if you're going to stay, you can't decide that for her. But Saturn's past her. I see if you're going to go, you got to go to a city, not a country space, and you got to go to a place where there's schools and universities, so you can be studying and going. So if you have something you're going to go study, then you could go somewhere. And you have your growth, your personal growth set, and then you do whatever mechanic it is to get by. Okay, so that's a fairly good, we got an assessment, we got a time plan. Now, right now, we're in November, so we're past the Uranus squares and the Saturn squaring the midheaven and opposing the Mercury. We're in a calm, but it's coming up to the Saturn opposed the Sun. There's some delays coming up, where she has to bide her time. But with the Saturn opposed to the Sun comes a certain amount of frustration. Working hard, what's it for? There's still, you're not motivated when Saturn's below the horizon. You're having to strive just because you can't stay where you are. So she says, well, I feel, what am I staying here for? What am I doing here? That voice is still going on through 2020. But there's delays. Wait. Okay, so now in this time period, 2019, now we go into the 2-year cycle. So the 2-year cycle, I do the printout for all the planets from Mars and out: Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. And this is the conjunction, squares, opposition, the major aspects. I don't put the sextiles and trines in. I talked about it, but they're not really critical. They're there. You could say it's nice, but really the turning points and the noticeable things happen on the conjunction, squares, and oppositions. So this puts it in from the beginning of 91 or 2019, excuse me. It starts at September. I just go back I went back 2 months. Usually I'm doing it, no, it's 1 month, October, but you go back 1 month and I go forward 2 years. And I do this before every consultation. I've got the main stuff done and I have the detail going on right now. Okay, so here, November 6th, Jupiter conjuncts the ascendant. Wow, this is just almost now. It's happening now. We're doing her chart, we're doing her reading. She's been through all the classes and she's seeing, the Sag ascending is seeing this new understanding, Jupiter on her ascendant. That's positive. She can start to teach. She could be translating things. She could be doing things. She could be traveling. There's a lot more options opening up here. So it's possible she'd be traveling or making connections into China as well as here. But it's like, this is really a good culmination, first reinforcing thing for her in a long time. Okay, now Mars has just been on the midheaven, so it's all Jupiter's in the first house, coming into the first house. This is good. Then we come along. I haven't marked the Mars squares. I consider there's sort of 1 week periods of just a little extra pressure and stress. But I do mark when Mars goes into the ascendant, and sometimes, let me just fix this, I didn't mark this. I highlight the area when Mars is in the 12th house. Okay, like that. So here, Mars is in the 12th house. I wonder if I can make this a bit bigger. I don't want to lose this chart. I'll make this one smaller. That's it. I'll pull this over. Okay. Yeah, okay, so here we go. So the Jupiter understanding, the enthusiasm, the new me, the enthusiasm is there. and she wants to go with it. But by the beginning of the year, there's still some Mars stuff. She's active, she's doing things, she's going on this. But by the beginning of the new year, Mars goes into their 12th house. Happens every 2 years, not a huge thing. But there's some delays. She wants to go in. There's some delays that are holding things back till February. February 8th, Mars goes into the sun. She gets her energy back. She's ready to go on things. That's just at the time that Saturn starts getting within the degree opposing her sun. So then Saturn opposes her sun in March. Mars opposes her sun in March 30th, March 19th, March 30th. And then Saturn squares the Mars in April. So the pressure is on. She's going to be busy. I have to do this. I have to take care of this. There's some limitations going on. If she's expanded too much with the Jupiter, she's going to have to cut back a little on her expectations until some things are taken care of. Okay, I don't know what this is, whether this is just, it's tax time, like it's government, it could be government things, it could be finishing things, but there's some limit, there's some limits to what she can do, what she wants, and there's some frustrations in here. And she's tired. So this is after classic. She's been studying classes every day, every week for the last 3 years. The classes aren't there anymore. What's next? So she gets the enthusiasm to start, but then there's complications and some delays. So she can see herself as the astrologer, no problem. I see it too. But there's some delays and hard work. It's almost like most people have a career in their astrology as a hobby and they build it up slowly. It's only when it becomes busy and demanding enough, steadily enough, across a year or two, that you become established well enough that you can really switch over and say, I can live by this. But even then, the money fluctuates. You get it sometimes, you get it not, it goes up, it goes down. It's not like a regular salary. So she's suited for it. She's born to do astrology. This is fine. But there's some delays and conflicts, some expenses, some things she has to take care of. Maybe she's really, it's not really working. Maybe I don't really want to be here. Or there's the ambition thing. I don't really want to work that hard. I don't want to be that ambitious, but it's just, there's Saturn coming in there. It could be a boss she's working with that's having difficulty, or there's not as much work. Or it's just, there's some slowdown or delay here that's frustrating. And it's supposed to be like, it's making her reassess her goals. It's making her feel, if this is depressing me, why am I doing it? How do I change it? How do I get out of this? So that goes to April. And then as you're going through July, August, not really big things coming up. Then Saturn opposes the Sun in December, and then Jupiter opposes the Sun, and Saturn squares the Mars. So that's the next pressure point. The same pressure. I'm working on why isn't it moving so fast? Why am I not going? So there's some inertia coming in at this time, delaying things, causing a bit of depression, a bit of difficulty, and challenging her. She wants to leave everything, but if you leave everything on the Saturn opposition and you start a new business or start a new partnership, you bring the Saturn opposition with you into the next partnership. So you want to get it over with before you start the new, because once that's over with, you don't have the delays and the new can really be opening up. So inside the Saturn opposed to Saturn, the Jupiter here is opposed to the Sun. So we don't have the Jupiter one inside our 8-year graph. This is why I do this. The Jupiter opposed the Sun. For 6 years, she's been doing things a certain way and trying to understand where it would lead to. I do this, it led to this. I do this, I did this, I didn't get this. I did this, I got that. So she's thinking like that, try it, get to see what comes. Now she can't afford to do that. She has to understand where she's going and what's going to come before she has to know what the result is before she does it. So the understanding comes, this is the 6-year shift for Jupiter opposed to Sun. It's a shift in your common sense. Suddenly you have to realize the implication of something before you do it. Well, that's really useful if you can take that pause to get that insight instead of just rushing forward. Then once she gets that insight, it kicks in. She still gets impatient with the Jupiter squaring the Mars, but Saturn squaring the Mars at the time. She's then working for the dream, but she's not where she wants to be and she wants to change it. Then Jupiter opposed Jupiter, that's just age, midlife age stuff. But by March 2021, Jupiter conjuncts the Sun, conjuncts the Moon. So we had Saturn conjuncting the Moon, but Jupiter's conjuncting the Moon there too. That's really the new beginning. That's really the opening up. So when we had the 8-year graph, let me just back up a little bit for a minute. We saw in 2022, Saturn conjuncts the moon. This is the definition or defining or make commitment around home. It's a conjunction, not the square opposition. I gotta change things. There's a depression, yes, but seriousness, yes, but a need to fix it, to make a commitment. So that's 2022. In 2021, in the transits that we're looking at, Jupiter conjuncts her moon in March. So like she's ready to move or make changes. So she could move and decide to change where she's going to be. She can move to China. She can move places. Like at that moon to Jupiter, that's a good time. Change the way she lives. And then it could even be good around meeting people or getting your own place or something. But then, and then Uranus comes up and squares to Jupiter. We're not usually counting that. I haven't been into the 8 years, but like in this 2-year bet, you get a few of the other ones coming in. You say, oh, okay, that's a shift in her understanding. So what she was wanting when Jupiter's on the ascendant, some of it falls away. She's not seeing it all. It changes. That's an understanding. It's hard to measure understanding or to talk about. There's a shift in her outlook. Then Mars comes on her sun and she's ready to go and change. Like there's no other big aspects delaying her. Like June of 21, she's trying to make some things happen. Now let's see, nothing else really big in there. So okay, then we're going to go up to the progress chart. Before we get to the progress chart, so we can see in 2021 things are opening up and she starts to move on it. That's the fast immediate energy. Then as she starts to move on it in 2022, Saturn comes up to go. Her changes her ascendant, so her sense of relationship is changing. She may make a commitment to get a house or to where she wants to live. She may make this, I'm going to do this and work to do that. That's the Saturn on the moon. The Jupiter came in first to see it, then the making it happen, the working to make it happen, making the plan happen. It could also be considered working on your hobby and turning it into a career, taking the astrology being more established, and she might get more popular. She could get really popular in China. And it's probably more practical to be there because you can make a lot more money there than just being here. Or it can be done on the web. It's not a show, but you can see the general, you don't know what it is unless you're working with the person, the specific facts you have. But you can generally see the general trend of it. And I'm making some things up here just to push forward, to make a continuity. When you do a chart, you make a caricature of a person. We look over what we see, what the person is in our mind, and we see what's going on to them in our mind. And we see the pattern, what's coming up, and we make up a little story. That story is not exactly who they are, but it's close enough that they can see if that's happening to that character, what the challenges are for them as their character. And that's the communication that goes across. So she has everything opening up in 21, and then she's going to try and consolidate it in 22. So if she came to me in 21 and saying, you think it's time should I go back to China? And I'd ask a bit about it, the opening is there. But if she didn't go there, the opening would be here. She may still move from where she's living. Which is on the West Coast, but she may make a move or something, and it would be a good move, like Jupiter on the moon. She'll see things more clearly and she'll be optimistic for the first time in a long time. Okay, so we've got the main, that's the main, until you get that groundwork done, the progressions don't blossom. You gotta look at them, you can sort of see them, but you're not grounding them, seeing what the backdrop they're working through. So the progressions are the extra add-ons that are happening within you while the outside world is happening. It's how you're growing inwardly while the outside is happening. It's how you're evolving through your experiences. Sometimes this can seem very faded, sometimes not. So,